Hello guys, we all know that Russia is fully dependent on the selling of its energy resources. That is perhaps their only real trustworthy source of the national income. And recently, the CEO of GAZPROM, and that is definitely a person that knows a lot about Russian energy system resources, including some very well hidden facts. So that CEO of GAZPROM said that right now Russia enters a very serious and very dangerous energy crisis. And all because they have run out of the sources of cheap oil. Multiply that with constantly falling oil prices, with sanctions that already force Russians to sell their oil with very serious discounts, and altogether can ruin Russian economy way sooner than even the most optimistic of us expect. So let's discuss in detail this very important and very loud statement from the head of GAZPROM and what is actually happening with the Russian oil industry. And I'm sure the role of the Ukrainian drones that were so effective in destroying their oil refineries is also very important here. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, subscribe, we discuss that all on the channel, and trust me, that's the only working peace plan. So recently, on one of those very important Russian gatherings of people close to the Kremlin, the CEO of GAZPROM, and here I need to remind you, this once very successful company was totally destroyed by the Russian war. They were the richest in Russia and now they are bankrupt. So the head of GAZPROM announced that Russia enters a very serious energy crisis. Russia, that's a country that is totally dependent on the selling of its energy resources. They are not competitive, they are not innovative, they are a gas station. And now this gas station has serious troubles with gas. So according to the CEO of GAZPROM, Russia is running out of cheap oil deposits, the ones that are easy to mine, to extract, and the majority of the ones that are left are hard to recover reserves. This means that oil is located there really deep, and it's complex to develop the ways to extract it. And many of these deposits are actually located very far away from roads, like complex logistically. So they have almost no cheap, easy to extract oil deposits left, and those that they still have are located very far away and are very complex for maintenance and development. According to GAZPROM NEFT, and they have this huge part of the company that deals with NEFT, or that deals with oil, according to that, already 60% of oil that GAZPROM drills, I remembered the word finally, congratulations to me. So already 60% of the oil they drill comes from these very complex, hard to recover reserves. And the only way they can survive in such circumstances, they need the state to lower taxes and to create some very specific conditions in which Russian oil industry can survive. But the problem is the Russian state has very serious problems with economy. They don't have money and they always take money from the Russian gas and oil industry. So it's a very, very complex situation right now. According to the insider estimates, by 2030, 80% of Russia's oil deposits will be that hard to recover reserves, which are very expensive and totally inefficient. Subscribe to see the collapse of the Russian Federation, and please share these videos if you share my opinion. So these high-cost sources of oil do not solve Russian economic problems and just create the new ones. Literally, the main way to earn money in Russia dries out, and they cannot subsidize it, they cannot help it in any way. What is also interesting, this happened in the context of serious troubles for the Russian oil industry in general. First of all, Ukrainian drones that destroyed up to 30% of their oil refining facilities. They cannot recover such damage quickly. They cannot reconstruct a lot of parts of such refining facilities because that's expensive, that's complex. Many of them were built back in Soviet times, and now in Mother Russia they don't have specialists to do the job, or sanctions prevent them from buying something. So we have paralyzed a lot of Russian oil refineries. That is number one. Then sanctions, they do work, and to be able to sell oil at least to someone, Russians had to introduce tremendous discounts. And now these oil prices can actually continue falling down because the Saudis seem not to object. We don't know what's the purpose of Trump's Middle East tour. Maybe they also discuss the prices and they can keep falling. These new attitudes to Syria, a lot of things are changing. And what we have now for Russia, they need to keep their prices low. They need to provide some very attractive discounts to make others buy their oil, low quality oil. But the production prices keep rising for them because of that high cost sources and hard to recover resources. So the price of production is rising, and the price for which they can sell this oil keeps falling. And they already had to rewrite the budget for 2025, understanding that they will not earn at least 25% of what they expected. And once again, oil industry is to blame here. So this is actually very beautiful and important. Plus, it does not come from an optimistic Ukrainian source. It comes from GAZPROM CEO, who is desperate at this moment. His company is ruined, and the way to recover is closed because they run out of cheap oil resources. That's predictable. That will happen to all the countries that simply live on their resources. That is a very wrong way to develop, especially in the 21st century. It's not about IT. It's not about medicine, education, culture, I don't know, construction. It's about the resources, drinking blood from your land and not thanking it for it. That's the Russian way. So altogether, these low prices, these sanctions, destroyed oil refineries, and ending resources can actually first end Russian oil industry. And then, as this is not just a problem, it's not the falling income in the context of the already destroyed and very exhausted by the Russian blitzkrieg oil industry, we observe a very serious structural weakness, a structural problem for the whole Russian economy. Thumbs up for that. Honestly, Russia had so many chances to evolve into a normal, big, successful country since 90s, but they've chosen a very wrong direction, and they must be punished for that. And it's not just Ukrainians who punish them, not just our partners, but also the nature itself. This can lead to serious troubles inside Russia too. And before this loud collapse of their economy and potential dissolution of the Russian Federation, we may also observe prices rising in Russia. We may observe serious problems with harvest because, this agricultural summer season, people need a lot of oil products during it. And some protests coming if you don't have access to oil, gas in the country that was considered the richest gas station in the world. And that is a serious crisis. Putin knows about that. And it reminds this 90s crisis, but with a very different context. Because back in the 90s, Russia had lots of old Soviet reserves that it could use. It could borrow, it could secretly use, it could bring from elsewhere. Right now, Russia does not have these reserves. They've used everything they had to fuel the war machine. Just imagine Russia, a mafia gas station country, speaks about serious energy crisis in Russia. What else, apart from oil, gas, terror, violence, they can offer the world? Nothing. And in 90s, this collapse of the Soviet Union was fueled by the oil crisis. The history repeats itself. Let me know, would you like a separate video about Ukrainian minerals? Because seems like that's an important topic right now in the White House. I can do it, for example, on the new channel from an ordinary civilian perspective. Let me know, are you available this Sunday for our live? Because I plan to visit Media Forum in Lviv, and on Sunday I will be back home, and I would love to share more interesting things with you. So let me know Sunday, not Saturday, but Sunday 9 p.m. Are you available? Remember to join me on Instagram, X, Threads, Blue Sky, and we have an amazing Discord community. All the links in the description of this video, same as the link to our webpage that has a lot of beautiful merch products, t-shirts, caps, cups, stickers, and all of them work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. But most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!